Good evening and welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative that works to destigmatize mental health. We've got a great show planned for you. We have Josh Katz from Badflower and also Echosmith. We're going to be talking about the impacts and intersections of music, mental health, and also their participation in the 320 Festival. Let's start the show by talking about relational health. Yes, our relationships, all the ones we're in, definitely impact our mental health. Now, when we enter people's lives, we want to be aware of that we leave them off, better or worse. All the relationships we're in are going to make us move forward thinking that, yes, we can trust people, people in relationships are safe. And I'm talking about that in terms of romance, sex, dating. You want to take that responsibility. When you enter some kind of romantic sexual relationship with someone, you have a responsibility to them. Far too many people are walking around wounded. And remember, every time we enter a new relationship, we take into it all the damage from the one before. So be ethical in your sex, relationships, and dating. And remember that you want to leave people better off from having been in your life. So that responsibility means letting people know where you're at, letting them know the level of interest or commitment you have. But most importantly, when you're no longer interested, or if you've dated and realize that the chemistry or the compatibility is not there, letting people know. We are getting far too comfortable with ghosting, which means basically just disappearing on people. So again, take that responsibility. When you enter someone's life, you want to realize that you're impacting others around you always. And I mean that in terms of employer and employee, parent and child, friends. All these things matter. And mental health, again, is tied to the health of all the people that we're in relationships with. And they're always reflecting back our worth, because our self-esteem and our mental health is often an accumulation of the way those around us have reflected back or treated us and told us about our worth or value. So take all of that really seriously. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by tweeting your questions to the hashtag I'm Listening, or by sliding into our DMs on our Loveline IG page. But right now, let's go to Echosmith. We got Sydney, Noah, and Graham with us. How are you? Welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected.
Oh my gosh, hi. We are doing well. Graham, actually, I don't know what he's doing.
Come on, Graham. Where are you, buddy?
I think maybe, I don't know. I think because we're supposed to be so together in this shot, I don't know. I think our manager was like, yeah, Graham, you can just chill. So it's me and Noah today, but thanks for having us.
We're here.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. So I like to start off always, we're trying to get people comfortable and normalize talking about their mental health. How is both of your mental health?
Right now is a very interesting time, but as, musicians who are kind of in some ways used to this lifestyle of quarantine, when we're off of tour, this is kind of what it feels like. We're at home and technically, not doing very much, so in some ways it's actually been a bit of a healing time, I would say, because it's given us the space, to just check in on ourselves and take care of ourselves. And that's how I've been feeling, actually. And of course there are days that are tough and my anxiety can flare up, but honestly, being on tour is very crazy. So I'm kind of grateful for the extra time to just kind of, see how I'm feeling and really think about it and be intentional with it,
And how about you?
Doing pretty well. I think as we all know, being around people is a really essential part of our mental health. We can't go this journey alone. It's impossible. So I am missing my community. But at the end of the day, I'm really blessed to have my wife. I'm blessed to have my siblings that I'm still seeing. And we may just have each other, but that is an incredible gift. And that, I think, is really helped sustain me through this time. Because I think otherwise it's to be completely alone, it's not healthy. It's not right. And on, extended periods of time, even during this quarantine period, that I have been too alone, or I haven't tried to connect with those around me or those that love me, I can tell that just it doesn't lead to good thoughts. It doesn't lead to a healthy lifestyle. So
yeah,
I'm pretty well done.
And thanks for pointing out the social piece. It's important that we are self-isolating and following the rules, but I think it's important that people notice that this isn't necessarily normal or the best for us. And so whatever struggles come out of that is somewhat understandable.
Totally. And I think, that's something that we've been talking about in general before all of this happened, with our new album, Lonely Generation. It's literally called Lonely Generation. We obviously had no idea what was ahead of us this year. And, that song and the whole album really feel more relevant now than ever, because it feels so gosh, it feels like we're so lonely. And it's great that we do have these tools. Like we're talking to you right now. I don't know, where are you, by the way?
Los Angeles.
Okay, us too. So we're probably semi-close.
Yeah.
But the fact that we can do this, I'm so grateful. It's so cool. But this isn't enough. And I think that's what we're all realizing in this time. It's not enough to just, see you on FaceTime. I think we need that face-to-face connection. And that's something we've been pushing for and pushing ourselves to do more, in general, but especially now more than ever.
And you kind of walked us into it. I mean, the album Lonely Generation, one of the things you said is we want listeners to feel less alone. And so you kind of speak to the beautiful impact that music can have on mental health.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think it's very therapeutic. I think it's beautiful. Music can do so much more than other things can do, even sometimes. Of course, I go to therapy and I think it's so beautiful, but sometimes just hearing the right song can heal so much in me. And I think a lot of people have experienced that in so many different ways, in so many different genres. It doesn't matter where it comes from, but I think it's so cool that music can be a beautiful tool like that. And it could be a tool just to have fun and to let go and not think about what's going on, but it also can dive right in there and kind of just make you address maybe what you didn't want to think about as well. So it's cool how it can do so many different things, and that's why we love doing music.
And has a mental health focus always been something that's important to you with your music? Because as I was looking at some of the interviews and the way you talked about the album and your music, it seemed like you wanted it to have that. You also said that the album's going to produce a lot of feelings. I mean, that's a really heavy statement.
Yeah, I think from the beginning, we've always seen music as something that can kind of depict the human experience in a really powerful and a really beautiful way. I was reading something last week, and I can't remember some master of memory in the brain, and he talks about how music helps us make these connections subconsciously within the brain. It connects the frontal cortex and all these things in ways that nothing else really can. And I think it's just really powerful and kind of beautiful to think of how we're given art, and we're through that given the capacity to not just remember beautiful things, but to connect to beautiful things. And I think that we've always seen, and we've only seen it more and more as time has gone on, from the first time people were starting to hear Cool Kids to now Lonely Generation, all the songs on that record. It's been such a privilege and a joy to really kind of understand, have a real grip on what it means to have art impact people's lives.
I love that, because again, we don't always have the right language or words to describe what we're feeling or experiencing. And so, like you said, art or music is a way for us to maybe show that or work with it.
Totally.
So cool.
So let's talk about self-care for a second. What I think has been interesting during this time is some people are talking about some new things and new interests or hobbies or ways that they're kind of taking care of themselves that maybe weren't common or familiar to them in the past. Are either of you noticing new hobbies or new forms of self-care?
That's a good question. I'm definitely noticing the things that I'm doing that are the opposite of self-care. And I'm like, I need to do this less because I'm feeling like I'm going crazy, being on my phone too much. For example, I'm like, that is not self-care and I need to stop that. But something good that I've been doing, I've always loved walking, and I got married last year. So my husband and I are quarantining together as well. So we've gotten to walk a lot. I mean, that's just the only thing that we can do, and of course we're doing it safely with all the tools, of course. But yeah, just getting some fresh air has been very good for me, especially since we are still trying to do whatever we can, online for our fans. I mean, I'm just with technology way too much. So just kind of putting my phone away for however much time that I can is so great. And just getting outside for a little bit has been really good for me. But I mean, that's been the main thing that I've been doing besides, I don't know what else. I should be doing more, I think. Do you have any self-care things you've been doing?
I think I've been doing plenty of walking. I think something that's been really kind of special for me is that and it's so simple, but I've been making bread. I've been making sourdough bread.
Wait a minute. I was waiting for that. Everyone keeps talking about bread.
It's what I think is so beautiful about, and I've loved to cook for years and years and years, from middle school. But what I love about creating sourdough bread is that you're growing something and you're taking care of these microorganisms, and you're watching them grow and you're feeding them, and you're managing and manipulating.
It's like a pet.
It's like a pet.
It's like a child.
What I love about it, it slows life down. And I think so much of this modern era is that we're devoted to speed, and we're devoted to getting things fast, pulling out my phone and looking up whatever information I want, and immediately forgetting it because it's all accessed just through Google. And I think that something like making bread can slow you down. You're using your hands, you're using your mind, you're doing the math in your head, and you're figuring out how you can manipulate a physical thing into something that is tasty.
I love it.
I love it. I think that for me, it forces me. I wake up early in the morning, I feed the starter, and then I just get it going. And that's actually been really special for me. So I like it.
Wow, I need to start doing the bread self-care.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm eating bread.
Idea.
Is that self-care?
It's so funny. Every time I ask on that question, I wait for someone to reference cooking or bread these days. That's amazing. But I appreciate what you're saying about slowing down. I mean, we definitely live in a culture where we want everything fast, quick, easy. We don't want to sit with ourselves. We want to distract. And that came up also in one of the interviews that both of you were talking about, that you want your album not just to show the good side. You also want social media to not always focus on the good side. And you also talked about the dangers of not having the balance between real life and what we put up on our social media.
Yeah, I think that's a very important conversation. It's only gotten more important, like I was kind of saying before. Like right now, this conversation is, it's painful to talk about because you want to stay social, like we said, and it's good to stay connected with your friends in these, virtual ways because we can't see each other physically right now. But I don't want us to forget how important that face-to-face connection is just because we went without it for so long. And of course, we're all probably going to be excited when we can see each other again. But I don't want it to be this thing for me personally where I just right off the bat, I'm like, oh, great, I can see people, and I'm, being really good about being face-to-face and not on my phone too much, and then it just dissipates in a week, and I think it's a bigger lesson that all of us need to learn and really practice. So, it's interesting to try to navigate that as we're in this weird time right now, but I think this may be the perfect time to sort of practice, having discipline with literally putting your phone down or, just deciding to have a conversation with whoever you may be isolated with and really having quality conversations instead of just a passing thing and I'm on my phone scrolling while you're telling me something that I don't care about. So I think it's all about intention, and I think that's something we can practice in small ways now to hopefully help us have a balanced future when we can see each other again. But we're all just trying to figure it out, and I have, I'm not even close to perfect when it comes to this, but that's why I talk about it so much, because this is something that I struggle with, and it's been beautiful to see how our fans also feel that same way. It makes me feel less alone as well.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Let's talk for a second about the 320 Festival. I think that it's really phenomenal, bringing together music and mental health. I think it's a really great platform to normalize everything we're talking about. What do you want to have come out of that for the two of you?
Man, I mean, just like what you said, normalizing the conversation itself, I think is so important. And anything we can do to be a part of that, whether it's through our actual music or what we're saying in interviews or on our social media, whatever we can do, I want to be a part of that because I think it's so important to make it feel more normal for everyone. I know at first when I was hearing about therapy, I was like, oh, well, that's probably not for me, right? I probably don't, you get all weirded out because there's this stigma sometimes with it. And it's the most beautiful thing. I have learned so much in therapy, whether it was just by myself or premarital or whatever. I think it's such an amazing tool. But growing up, it was, kind of weird to talk about it. And you're like, oh, well, if you go to therapy, I don't know if you should talk about it. And I think you should talk about it and share what you've been learning. So, I think just being a part of normalizing it as much as we can in whatever ways we can is super important to us. And that's just, us wanting to just keep the conversation going, even if it's just, one-on-one with our fans or, in whatever way that conversation may come up. So I'm glad that we're doing this festival. It's going to be really fun.
Good. We have some questions that came in from fans. I'd love for you to answer them with us.
Hey,
yeah.
Of course.
All right. This first one asks, what have you been doing to take care of your... Oh, this is a great question that we just kind of talked about this. What have you been doing to take care of your mental health since self-care, coping mechanisms, and normalcy have probably been affected?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, honestly, this is going to sound so silly, but something that I just thought of is that I got an electric toothbrush for Christmas. And this sounds so basic. This is how simple things are getting here in self-isolation. But I got that, and just like literally taking time to like remember to do that before I fall asleep, which I mean sounds so childish, but just remembering to like, you know, spend time, the full 2 minutes, not cutting it short, you know, just taking care of your teeth because you only get one set, you know, just been kind of nice and flossing it up. I don't know. I'm trying to do like healthy things. I mean, it sounds so lame that that's my thing for like fun, but
well, what I think I like about that though is that like they mentioned normalcy, and I think in a world it doesn't feel normal anymore, it's abnormal, to kind of create these like normal modes that we go through can kind of help it feel a little more normal.
Yes, everything is normal. I brush my teeth every day. For those 2 minutes, you forget.
That's right. I mean, I'm the son of a dentist, so I'm always here for people talking about oral health care. But what I also like about that is there's some self-esteem in that you're saying like, I'm worth taking care of. I'm worth putting those 2 minutes aside and spending money on a toothbrush. So I think that's valuable.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. And by the way, it's clear that your dad is a dentist. Your teeth are great.
Thank you. He's happy to hear that. We have another question for the two of you. A fan asks, do you have any specific films or albums you turn to when you're feeling a little bit down?
A specific movie that just came to mind, which sounds sort of ironic that I'm choosing this. Two movies. One, this is not ironic, it's perfect. Nacho Libre. That is like the best movie. I've watched it probably 2 times already in the past month or two. And it's so good. It's pretty short, actually. So you can watch it, you know, in the length of time you'd watch basically an episode or 2. So Nacho Libre, highly suggest it. It's so funny. And you just, even if you've seen it 100 times, it doesn't get old. So that's a nice way to kind of teleport out of your space. But also The Notebook. I know it's a very depressing movie in a lot of ways, but it's so sweet. Like sometimes you just need a good cry, you know? And every time I watch it, no matter how many times I've seen it now, I sob at the end when they lay together. Oh my gosh. I mean, nothing feels better though than a great cry, especially if, you know, there's something that you've been holding in and not, you know, really knowing that you've been holding it in. Subconsciously, it's like, I don't know, a nice way to let it out while watching people in love. I know, but
that's pretty comprehensive though. I like that. That's a very well-rounded movie selection, right? The humor to the romance.
It's very different.
We have another question. This one asks, what is your favorite Lonely Generation music video that you've released thus far?
That is a good question, considering we just put one out today. For I Don't Want to Lose My Love, which actually is one of my favorites that we've put out for this album so far, because it's very sweet, but it kind of has the vibe of The Notebook, actually, where it's very sweet but really sad, which apparently I like. So that is definitely one of my favorites, but I don't know, Diamonds that we did, I don't know, we released that, I don't know, a couple months ago. Diamonds is a Western, basically, and we have like a fake shootout, and it's so much fun. It was so much fun to film, and it looks so legit. It makes me want to actually act and be in a Western film. So I love that video. I don't think that'll ever get old. What about you?
I think my favorite was Scared to Be Alone. I think right now, that's where I'm feeling. I like that video. I think it captures isolation well, and it's just the right amount of playful, but also I think has this kind of dark, ominous vibe to it too. So
I like that.
Dig that one.
Well, listen, thank you so much for everything you're doing, and good luck at the 320 Festival. We're all going to be tuning in, and thanks for being a part of our show tonight.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you for having us. This was great. It felt like a mini therapy session.
Oh,
I like it.
Tell your brother we said hello.
I will.
All right.
I'll see you later. Thank
Be well.
you so much.
Bye-bye. Have a great night. I love that. You know, film and music, art is such a beautiful way to tap into different emotions. It also brings new levels up or allows us to drop in deeper. It's also sometimes helps us communicate. There's not words for all the different things we might be experiencing or feeling, and art and music is such a beautiful way to just connect to deeper parts of ourselves and other people. We have some questions that came in. If you want to join the conversation, you can always do so by tweeting your questions at the hashtag I'm listening, or by sending them into the DMs on our Loveline IG page. This question asks, really into my partner, and I love them to death, but all we do is fight. Is this a clear sign we shouldn't be together? This is a really important question. A lot of different things are coming up in our relationships right now. You know, I say to everyone, what you say and do matters. We are impacting others, and we don't easily forget events or things that are said to us. So be loving. It counts right now. But at the same time, I'm telling people to hold things a little lightly, because right now, a lot of our feelings and emotions are amplified. We're not necessarily at our best or dealing with stress. So be caring, compassionate towards yourself and those around you. We need to keep those around us. Right now, though, let's go to Josh Katz from Badflower. Josh, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How was your mental health?
I mean, it's fine. Probably the same as everybody else. It's tough right now. Certain days are better than others. I wish that I could go out and play shows and know that I could like make money. That's kind of stressful for us bands, but all in all, I mean, I'm in my own home studio. I get to keep working, so everything's good for me.
I like hearing that. I'm happy when people are thriving. And talk to us.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing not too bad. I hold the bar pretty high for myself because of the work I do, but I'm letting myself kind of feel all the different feelings, but I'm not doing too bad. So can I ask you about self-care? What kind of forms of self-care do you see yourself engaging in these days? Oh, there you're back. We lost you for a second.
Yeah,
we froze. So
Sorry.
talk to me about self-care. What kind of self-care do you see yourself engaging in these days?
I try my best to sleep well, although I'm not very good at it when I'm writing music. I like to stay up all night, but I find that when I get a good night's sleep, I feel a lot better. And I've also been trying to exercise a lot more and not just like sit on a couch when I'm not doing anything. Like if I can run around my neighborhood a little bit with the mask on, obviously, I wake up the next day feeling much better and a little bit sore, but also feeling like I want to go do that again. And I think that's like hugely important. It's like one of those simple things that people forget, but you could just like move your body, run around the house, run around the neighborhood, and you'll feel so much better.
I'm so inspired by that. My body does not want to go move, but I recognize the benefits of moving your body, the fresh air, the sunshine. So good for you.
I mean, you can open a window and do like jumping jacks, like middle school PE stuff, and that alone feels so good.
I'll set the goal of 5 to 10. That's all I'm giving you.
Do 50. Come on, man. You can squeeze 50 in.
I got 50 in me. So I wanted to ask you something. You know, your music has a level of honesty in terms of the different mental health topics that you're willing to talk about and cover. So before we even get into that specifically, where does your confidence in the vulnerability come from?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I'd started writing certain songs that were really vulnerable and very direct and very real. And I got a lot out of doing that and putting it out for people. And then on top of it, people started to notice and recognize it and became fans of our band because of it. So it just like, I don't know, I just went down that path because it felt like it made the most sense. And now that's kind of like my thing. That's what I do. And I'm very proud that that's what I do. I take a lot of pride in the fact that our band isn't one that just like goes out on stage like these rock stars and wants to be cool and be perceived cool. Like we're very, very real, and people know that, and that's what they love about us.
I think it's such a needed thing these days. So I applaud you for being front runners in that. I think it's easy for people in the public spotlight to think that they need to present their most shiniest and cleanest and best. Even the name of the album, Okay, I'm Sick, is such a normalizing part of the mental health work.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at some of the topics that you cover, and it's not common that you hear them in music, abuse, suicide, sexual abuse, death. And one of the interviews, you talked about the importance of really encountering some of this, and you were talking about not avoiding it and trigger warnings. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I just feel like that I've noticed for myself, because I deal with a lot of these issues. It's the reason that I write about them, is that the more I talk about them and confront them, and I'm not afraid of them, the more I understand it, and I can like heal and be better. And so I get why trigger warnings are a thing. I get that it could send people spiraling, but I also like I'm just an advocate of like facing your problems and your issues and anything that might trigger your PTSD or whatever it is. I'm a believer in facing it head on, and I've done countless therapy sessions, and that seems to be like the running theme with, if you really want to heal, you have to face this stuff. Like you can't dance around it and you can't suppress it. You just have to face it. And yeah, that's my stance. I'm not a doctor. You might tell me right now, no, that's not the best way to do it, but that's worked for me. And that's worked for a lot of people that I know as well.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to find what works for them. And I know that mental health, and the whole purpose of this show is we want people to at least be comfortable talking about mental health. And to talk about it, you have to be able to feel it. And I want culturally us to be familiar hearing people talk about it, because we're all on that continuum somewhere.
Right.
So let's talk about, you also mentioned like a trifecta: anger, lust, and heartbreak. I haven't heard someone talk about singing about lust. Where does that, talk to me about that piece, because I think that that's such a powerful drive. Like when I do sex therapy, that's one of the things that comes up, is how sex is such a powerful force in our lives. We'll forego sleep. We'll do things we wouldn't normally do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between, at least for me, if I actually like somebody, or I really have true feelings, or I just think they're hot and want to get with them, so to speak. I think like there's a line there that sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. And so yeah, I love to write about that. And to me, it's like it can be just as powerful of a motivator, or on in the negative side, like it could destroy you in the same way as like heartbreak, you know?
Yeah, relationships.
That's how I feel about it.
Well, and that's one of the things I was opening the show with, the whole idea that like every song seems to be about relationships in some form, every movie, every book. Like there's such a powerful center point in our lives. And I want people to take responsibility for the impact they have on others in terms of like sex and dating and romance. And so it's a very confusing thing, and it definitely directly impacts our mental health.
Totally.
So talk to us about the 320 Festival. Probably a bummer that you can't perform live, but I'm glad that it's still going to be happening online. And for those that want to check it out, it's May 8th through the 10th at 320festival.com. And it's going to be mental health, education, performances. What do you want people to walk away with from this?
I just want everybody to have a good time and enjoy it. I think it's just a cool thing. First of all, we're so honored to be a part of it that they asked us to do it. And I just think it's a cool thing for people to get to tune into and forget about how weird the world is right now, and just enjoy some music. And I'm really excited, just as a fan of the whole thing, I'm excited to watch all the people doing the talks and like this sort of lecture style thing. There's a lot of bands who are going live on the internet, and it's really cool, and we all love to tune in. But I think that part of it's going to be really special. And just to hear other people's takes on issues that we're all dealing with constantly, I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, we had Talinda Bennington on last week, and I was thanking her for doing this because, again, you know, music is something that we all connect to, we all enjoy it, and to infuse a mental health component is so needed. And a lot of people shy away and have anxiety about talking about that. And so I was thanking her for the vulnerability. And so I just want to say that to you as well. I mean, your music is so vulnerable and real, your participation, we need more of that from musicians.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I agree. I think a lot of musicians are capable of talking about this stuff and potentially healing people. And I feel like if they are, they should. And we should all stop being so, I mean, this job is so strange. It's such a selfish job. Like it's all about me. I'm on the stage and the lights are on me and people are paying tickets to see me because they love me. We already have that and it's great. We're fulfilled. So now let's take that and take this platform that we have and actually speak on things that could potentially change the world or even change one person. I think if we have the power to do it, we should.
Yeah, beautiful.
So to any musicians watching, shape up.
Well, you're definitely walking the walk. I mean, like I said, your songs are about this. The album title itself is its own intervention in normalizing and kind of calling out your own struggles. So there's something very powerful in that. And, you know, music has a capacity to heal. Historically, for you, outside of your own music, has music been healing for you or something that helped you with your mental health?
Oh, of course. Music and movies and TV, like honestly, any sort of art has been. And there's two different versions of it too. There's like the escapism version where you just put on a song and it just helps you to not think about what's happening. And then there's the version of music, like more like what we make, which is just really confronting and helps you to see things maybe differently. Or, you know, if you're sad, it'll make you more sad, but then you're crying and you're finally confronting it. And it really can be that like the motivator that tips you over to really look at things in a different way. And I love that about music.
It's so honest. That's what I hear in there. It's just honest.
Yeah.
So we have some questions that came in from fans I'd love for you to answer with us.
Sure.
So this one asks, when you're recording a new song, what is the first thing you think? The melody or the lyrics? I've often wondered this myself.
It can be different every time. I mean, so many songs are written just like when I'm driving and I might hear like a truck pass by and it'll go, and then in my head I'll go, just like it can be the weirdest thing. And that's when a melody pops in, or sometimes it's a lyric. Sometimes it's something somebody says in conversation, or whatever, or just something that pops into your head. It can really be both. For me, the best songs are written when there's like a core melody that's just like so infectious, and you can just like feel it like a heartbeat, and one phrase that ends up becoming like the theme of the song. It's like if you have that foundation early on, it's probably going to be a song that ends up getting finished and is a great song. If you don't have that and you're searching for it the entire time, the song might not ever happen or might not be very good.
Wow, inspiration from everywhere. I like that. The next question asks, I like this. If you weren't an artist, what do you think you would be?
I think I really enjoy anything to do with concerts and stage. So I could see myself like wearing all black and being like the lighting guy or the stage tech or like the sound guy or something like that. I really love. I also love producing music. I mean, it's all music related to some degree, or it's all like performance related. If it was out of that, I also like building things. Like I like woodworking and building furniture and remodeling houses. I could see myself doing something like that.
Wow. All right. I like that. And then this final question asks, what's been the hardest part of quarantining for you?
I miss going to restaurants so bad. I miss being able to sit down at a restaurant. I hate, like, I've ordered pickup and stuff. I know that's such a dumb thing. Like, if you ask that question to somebody else, they're like, oh, can't see my family or can't see this. Like, I mean, we got phones, we got the internet, we're connected with all of our people, so that's okay. I really just miss being able to sit down and order a meal so much. Because essentially quarantine for me it's the same as it was. I'm making a record, so I'm like in my home studio working. If we weren't quarantining, it'd be the same thing. The only thing I feel like I'm really lacking personally is that.
All right. That's honest. I appreciate that. And it also feels good sometimes just have someone else cook for you. I don't know. Have you gotten into cooking? Is that something that's come out, or are you not a cooker at all?
I've always cooked.
Really?
I've always loved.
So many people talking about that. It's just something I'm like almost refusing to do it. And people keep talking about baking bread and cooking, and it's just over my head.
Oh yeah, no, you got to do it. I mean, I'm vegan too, and I live out in the desert where there's not a lot of options for me to eat anyway. So like, out of necessity, I had to learn to cook.
All right,
and now I love it.
I'm vegan as well, and so I make a mean curry if I do cook.
Are you?
I
like
am.
What kind of a curry? Like Indian style or like Thai style?
I make a good pad thai from the Thug Kitchen Cookbook, but I also make a pretty good yellow curry.
Sick.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to try it. That's one of the things that I've always tried to make, and I fail every time.
I will get my producer to send you my recipe.
Yes, please. I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, Josh Katz, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Good luck at the 320 Festival. I'm going to be there checking it out.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
And again, I love that, film and music, it soothes our soul. It supports the mood we're in. It also has the capacity to transport us and put us in a different place. We're all struggling. Art Alakakis will be joining us tomorrow, and we'll be talking about his new solo music and also his involvement in the 320 Festival. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific. That is 8 p.m. Eastern. As always, thanks for hanging out with me, and you all have an awesome, awesome night.